Hi everyone, in today's video I'm going to go reminiscing about when I drove a BMW, because in today's video I'm going to drive all the way home and I'm not going to use a signal if at all possible, and we're going to see what actual problems it causes. So the point in what I'm doing today is not to be dangerous at all, but the point is to prove that honestly a misleading signal is worse than not putting one on at all, and this is what I'm going to try and demonstrate. I am going to be super aware of my surroundings, and if I need to signal for any reason I'm going to, but I'm going to try and explain as I'm doing things what I'm doing with my car to then let people know what I intend to do out on the road, so I don't have to use these things. This might come a little bit of a shock to some people who go, you've got to signal for everything. You haven't, all right? But I'm not saying this is good practice, but I am going to ensure that it's 100% safe. I just want to really touch on the subject that a mistimed or a misinformed signal is worse than not putting one on at all. So let's go. No, don't need the signal there. I'm going to move slowly, so if any vehicles up here were thinking of moving away, they get plenty of time to see that I'm moving away before they then have a chance to go themselves. So no, didn't need a signal with that. Didn't need a signal to go around the parked one, because I'd already committed and I was out in a good position to go around the parked vehicle on the left with the van coming the other way, so that was all okay. Now, that one didn't signal to park. It didn't need to, because I could see it was heading towards the curve and slowing down. And this is really what I'm getting at, that if you don't signal, honestly, people aren't going to generally have many problems. And I really do mean that. And I'm just talking about indicators. I'm not talking about brake lights. I'm not talking about position. I'm not talking about speed. I'm just talking about these indicators where so many people are so wrapped up with. Now, obviously there's just a bend in the road, so we don't need to signal here. But when we get to the end of this road, there's a T-junction, and what I'd like people to think is it quite clear with where I'm going, and do I really need an indicator? So I'm going to turn left. If I was to signal here and the car came out of River Alt Drive, this road on the left, that car would think I was probably going in there and may pull out. It shouldn't do, but it could be the case. So I'll go back to that in a minute. I'm not going to signal. People know where I'm going. Was that signal really helpful and useful? I'm also going to turn right. Now, there are two lanes here. By me positioning in here, has that already showed people what's happening and what's going on? Probably. So going back to that last little turn that I just came past, that's the point that I want to make, that a mistimed signal is well worse than no signal at all. If I don't signal here, it's not really causing people any problems. I know there may be some trains of thought say I don't need to, and I probably wouldn't have there myself. Now, I am going to turn left here. I'm slowing down with my brake lights to control this guy behind, and now he's no issue. I don't have to slow down to make this turn, so really, is it a big deal? It's not. It's not a big deal whatsoever. If I'm doing a turn, the left signal really is there to people behind to say to them, I'm slowing down to this point, so you need to adjust your speed to accommodate me doing a turn. It's not the direction that I'm going. I hope you're following. So there, really, didn't affect anyone. We need a signal here. No, I'm well sorted before the cyclist. I'm showing them with my position. I'm going ahead at the roundabout. So the only signal I probably may need here is a left signal. But hang on a minute. Isn't my position showing that Mercedes? It absolutely is. So again, we get wrapped up into needing to signal all the time, but very few people actually think what a benefit that signal is. They only rely on the signal, where, honestly, has there been anything up to now that has been a danger because I haven't signalled? And I doubt you'll be able to answer yes to that, but we'll keep going. I'm going to try and drive all the way home without signalling. We're going to see exactly what's what. Should I even try and do a turn off this road and manage this situation? I tell you what I'm going to. So what I'm going to do is, even with the learner behind, I'm going to turn left where the black BMW has just come out from, and I'm not going to signal. So how am I going to do it? How am I going to show people what's going on? Well, I'm braking, even though I'm not in the Tesla, the brake lights are on. And am I showing people? It didn't affect the people crossing the road. I may have had to have signaled for them if they were wishing to cross, but again, I was able to manage that situation because of how aware I was of what was going on behind and how I did my slow. People knew exactly what I was doing without my signal. It's interesting, isn't it? Sound? So I'm taking the next road on the right. It's a shame that that vehicle behind's turning up there, because I would have done the same thing. I would have slowed early and just managed it. Is it pretty obvious with my speed of my car where I'm going? Well, not necessarily. I could be thinking about parking in on the left, so I would have to be super aware in that situation of anyone else overtaking me, and I'd make sure I wasn't going to be misleading. I'd try and keep to the centre of the road a little bit just to tell a story. There you go. And look at my speed. You didn't even know I was going to turn there, but both of those vehicles were able to continue. I still haven't signalled whatsoever. How are you sitting with this? Is this a little bit awkward? Now remember, I'm not saying this should be common practice. I'm pretty skilled at telling the story about what's going on around, and I'm really aware and I'm ready to use them if it's required, and I will. However, I want to try and prove this to you, that you cannot just rely on just putting a signal on for people to know where you're going. I'm going to turn right. What's my position saying to people? I'm near the centre line. I'm really super slow. It's obvious that I'm turning right. If I was following me, I'd know exactly where I was going. Would you? Okay. So I'm not going to make it easy as well. I'm going to try and manage certain situations. Let's just see what comes up. I am going to do another turn shortly. Are they staying? Yep. Been seen. And what's allowing me to do this pretty successfully? It's because I'm not rushing everywhere. If you notice, my speed on the approach to things has been quite calm. So I know there's no one around, there's no one behind. There's a lady in this side road. There's no one ahead apart from that car. No, I still don't need it. All good. But yeah, the speed that I'm approaching things is really the determining factor. When people rush in, the only way that they're telling people what they're doing often is by the indicator. So if your speed's too quick, honestly, that's often the only clue that people get. So there's more that you can do with your car, or motorbike, or push bike, or lorry, or bus, or whatever you drive. So don't need to signal here. This is a compulsory left turn. Yeah, we've got time to go. Do we need to signal to lane change? No, I'm just going to hold back. I wouldn't think about going out there as well, because that is a situation that I can't do successfully when I want to lane change. Even now I'm deciding to hold back here rather than move round. I know the van was coming up a little bit quick, but that is a situation that you can't not signal. You do need a signal to lane change and ask sometimes. But as you can see with the other stuff that I'm doing, it's not always required. How are you with signalling? Are you one of those people thinking that signals are needed for everything? Is this a little bit of a surprise to you about what I've done? And I haven't just literally gone a couple of minutes round the corner. Don't know how long I've been travelling, maybe 10, 15 minutes max. But I still haven't used my indicators. And has there been any scenario which has been anything but super low in risk? That shows you really how important in the grand scheme of things they are. There will be rarely a situation that if you don't signal that will cause a big problem. And I'd like to challenge all the people watching this in the comments to give me a scenario in the comments where they think not signalling would be dangerous. The first one that comes to mind, which can be a little bit of a problem, is potentially a right turn at mini roundabout. That can be an issue. Okay, so we'll go with that one. Here, I don't need to signal. I've managed my speed. I've watched closely that white one behind. They were holding back. Not needed. So the right turn at the mini roundabout, possibly. I've already said about lane changing on occasion. Say if I wanted to lane change now, there's no way of telling this vehicle next to me I'd like to move that way. So I'm not saying that this should be common practice. There are scenarios where these signals are really important, but they're not as important as you actually think. I'm doing this turn again without a signal. But are there any situations that you can think of, apart from a right turn at a mini roundabout and the lane changes, that become dangerous when I don't signal? Because I think you might struggle. I'll be interested if anyone can come up with anything else. But what's the benefit of this video? Don't rely on the signals. There's also a little bit of a learning point to say, think on how I've managed my speed and my position with my vehicle. People are way too insistent on just carrying on at the same speed and just signalling and doing. So there's a little bit with that I'd like people to think of. Do we need to signal here? Maybe I probably would have signalled for this car ahead, but again, because I've slowed, I've given this car ahead plenty of time to do what they needed to do. It's not a problem. But I hope that's made you think. Again, don't think that this is the correct process. I've done what I've done today to make a point, and I hope it's just made you think a little bit. Thanks a lot for tuning in. Keep safe out there, and try and use your signals probably a little bit more than I've just done, and I'll see you soon.